The ship made a sound like thunder when it hit the trees. Anna Riley felt her stomach drop as branches scraped against the metal walls around her. Everything went dark for a moment, then the emergency lights came on with their cold red glow. "Is everyone okay?" Anna called out, pulling herself up from the floor. Her head hurt and there was blood on her hand, but she could move. That was good. "I'm alive," said Dr. Ben Torres from somewhere behind her. He was the team's animal expert, a quiet man who loved studying new creatures more than anything else. His glasses were cracked, but still on his face. The third member of their small team, pilot Lisa Park, groaned from the front of the ship. "The engines are dead," she said. "Really dead. We're not flying anywhere soon." Anna looked out through the broken window. They had crashed on a moon covered in purple and green trees. The sky above was dark blue, and she could see the huge gas giant this moon traveled around. It looked like a giant marble hanging in space, all swirls of orange and yellow. "Where are we?" Ben asked. "Somewhere we're not supposed to be," Anna said. "The navigation system went crazy right before we crashed. This moon isn't on any of our charts." They spent the next hour checking their supplies and looking at the damage. The ship could keep them alive with air and heat, but it would never fly again. Their radio was broken too. Anna tried not to think about how far they were from home. "We should look around," Ben said. "Maybe we can find materials to fix the radio, or at least figure out what kind of place this is." Anna nodded. They put on their suits and stepped outside. The air was thin but breathable. It smelled like flowers and something else, something sharp and electric. The gravity was lighter than Earth, making each step feel like a small bounce. The forest around them was unlike anything Anna had ever seen. The trees had silver bark and leaves that seemed to glow with their own light. Small insects buzzed between the branches, their wings making tiny rainbow patterns in the air. Everything felt alive and strange. They walked for about an hour, collecting pieces of metal and wire from where their ship had broken apart during the crash. Ben stopped every few minutes to look at plants or take pictures of the insects. Anna let him. If they were going to be stuck here for a while, they might as well learn about their new home. That's when they heard the sound. It was like a cat crying, but deeper and sadder. The sound came from a small clearing ahead of them, where the silver trees made a circle around a patch of blue grass. "What was that?" Lisa whispered. Ben held up his hand for quiet. The sound came again, weaker this time. He pointed toward a pile of fallen branches near the center of the clearing. They walked closer, being careful not to make noise. Anna felt her heart beat faster. They didn't know what kind of animals lived on this moon, and some of them might be dangerous. The crying sound came from under the branches. Ben knelt down and started moving them aside very slowly and gently. Anna and Lisa stood ready to run if something jumped out at them. What they found was not what Anna expected. It was small, about the size of a house cat, but it looked like a tiny dragon. Its body was covered in scales that looked like pieces of colored glass. They were mostly green and blue, but some were silver and gold. Its wings were torn and bleeding. One of its back legs was bent the wrong way. The little creature looked up at them with huge amber eyes. It was scared and hurt, but when Ben reached toward it, the creature made a sound like angry electricity and small sparks came from its mouth. "Easy there," Ben said in his soft voice, the one he used with frightened animals. "We want to help you." The creature tried to crawl away, but its hurt leg wouldn't work. It fell over and made that crying sound again. This time Anna could hear how young it sounded, like a baby asking for its mother. "It's just a baby," she said. Ben nodded. "A baby something anyway. I've never seen anything like it." He pulled out his medical kit, the one he used for treating animals they found on their survey missions. "Hold still, little one. This will help." The creature didn't want Ben to touch it at first. Every time he got close, it would spark and hiss. But it was too hurt and tired to fight much. After a few minutes, it let Ben clean its wounds and put a small splint on its broken leg. "There," Ben said. "That should help." He offered the creature a piece of dried meat from their supplies. It sniffed the food carefully, then ate it very fast. It must have been hungry for a long time. "What should we call it?" Lisa asked. Anna looked at the small sparks that still came from the creature's nose when it breathed. How about Spark? The creature seemed to like the name, or maybe it just liked having food and people who weren't trying to hurt it. It curled up in Ben's hands and closed its amber eyes. "We should take it back to the ship," Ben said. "It needs somewhere safe to rest." They walked back through the glowing forest as the sun began to set. Anna noticed that the creature, Spark, kept looking around at the trees as if it was searching for something. Or someone. Back at the ship, Ben made a small bed for Spark out of soft cloths from their emergency supplies. The little dragon curled up in it and went to sleep almost right away. But even sleeping, it made small worried sounds. "Do you think there are others like it?" Anna asked. Ben shrugged. "Maybe. This is a big moon, and we've only seen a tiny part of it." That night, Anna took the first watch while the others slept. She sat near the broken window, looking out at the strange forest. The trees glowed brighter in the darkness like they were full of their own starlight. Sometime around midnight, she heard sounds in the forest. Not the crying they had heard earlier, but different sounds. Chittering and chattering, like many small voices talking to each other. The sound seemed to come from all around them, as if things were moving through the trees just out of sight. Anna woke Ben and Lisa quietly. They listened together, but the sound stopped as soon as they were all awake. "Something's out there," Anna whispered. "Something that knows we're here," Lisa added. They took turns watching for the rest of the night, but they didn't hear the sounds again. In his small bed, Spark slept peacefully for the first time since they found him. But Anna had the feeling that tomorrow would bring new surprises. On this strange moon, they were no longer alone. Sunlight filtered through the purple leaves like colored water, waking Anna from a restless sleep. She had dreamed of chittering voices and glowing eyes watching from the darkness. Now, in the gentle morning light of this strange moon, those fears seemed far away. Spark was awake too, sitting up in his little bed and looking much better than yesterday. His amber eyes were brighter, and he could put weight on his hurt leg without crying. The small dragon seemed interested in everything around him, turning his head to follow every sound. "Good morning, little guy," Ben said, offering Spark another piece of dried meat. The dragon ate it quickly, then made a soft purring sound that reminded Anna of a happy cat. "His wing looks better," Lisa noticed. The torn skin had started to heal, and Spark could move the wing without obvious pain. After breakfast, they decided to explore more of the area around their crashed ship. Anna wanted to find higher ground where they might be able to get a signal on their emergency radio. Ben wanted to learn more about the plants and animals of this moon, and all of them wondered about the sounds they had heard in the night. Spark seemed to want to come with them. When they put on their suits to go outside, he limped over to the door and made questioning sounds. "I don't think that's a good idea," Anna said. "You're still hurt." But Spark was determined. He managed to climb up onto Ben's shoulder and wrapped his tail around the man's neck like a scarf. His weight was no more than a small cat, and he seemed happy to ride along. "I guess he's coming with us," Ben laughed. They headed in a new direction today, following what looked like an old animal path through the silver trees. The path wound between rocks that stuck up from the ground like giant fingers. Some of the rocks had strange symbols carved into them, too worn by time to read clearly. "Someone lived here once," Anna said, running her fingers over the symbols. "Or something," Lisa added. "These marks could be natural." Spark made excited chirping sounds and pointed with one tiny claw toward a group of large rocks ahead. His whole body seemed tense, like a hunting dog that had found a scent. They followed his lead and found themselves at the entrance to a small valley between two hills. The valley was full of flowering bushes with blooms in every color Anna could imagine. But something was wrong. The flowers were trampled and broken. Dark stains covered some of the rocks. "Blood," Ben said quietly, kneeling to examine one of the stains. "And not very old." They moved deeper into the valley, being very careful and quiet. The damage got worse as they went. Trees were scratched and broken. The ground was torn up as if there had been a terrible fight. That's when they heard it. A soft humming sound. like a lullaby being sung by someone very small and very scared. The sound came from behind a fallen tree near the center of the valley. Anna, Ben, and Lisa approached slowly, not wanting to frighten whatever was making that sad music. What they found broke Anna's heart. 3 small creatures huddled together in a hollow under the fallen tree. They looked like raccoons, but bigger, about the size of small dogs. Their fur was dark with streaks of silver that seemed to move and shimmer in the light. Each creature had 6 legs instead of 4, and their tails were long and fluffy. Their faces had the same masked markings as earth raccoons, but their eyes were much larger and a beautiful shade of violet. The 3 creatures were clearly babies, and just as clearly orphans. They were thin and scared, pressing close together, for comfort. The humming sound was coming from all of them, a group song that spoke of loneliness and fear. "Oh no," Lisa whispered. "Where are their parents?" Ben pointed to more dark stains on the ground around them and to large claw marks in the dirt. "I think we're looking at what's left of their family." Anna felt anger rise in her chest. Something had killed these babies' parents and left them to die alone. On Earth, she had seen what happened to young animals when they lost their mothers. Most of them didn't survive. Spark made a sound Anna had never heard before. It was low and sad, almost like he understood what had happened here. The little dragon climbed down from Ben's shoulder and walked toward the orphaned creatures. The 3 baby raccoon things saw him coming and huddled closer together. Their humming got louder and more frightened, but Spark didn't try to get too close. Instead, he sat down a few feet away and made gentle chirping sounds like he was trying to talk to them. "That's interesting," Ben said. "He's not acting like a predator, more like he's trying to comfort them." Anna watched as Spark slowly crawled, closer to the 3 orphans. They stopped humming and watched him with their big violet eyes. When he was close enough to touch them, Spark did something amazing. He spread his good wing over all 3 of them like a small blanket. The baby creatures seemed to understand that Spark was trying to help. They moved closer to him, and soon all 4 small animals were curled up together under Spark's wing. The humming started again, but this time it sounded less frightened and more hopeful. "We have to help them," Anna said. "How?" Lisa asked. "We can barely take care of ourselves right now, and we don't know what these creatures eat or need." Ben was already thinking about the problem. The 3 babies look like they're old enough to eat solid food, but they're probably not old enough to hunt for themselves. And Spark is still just a baby too. Anna knelt down near the group of small animals. "We can't just leave them here. Whatever killed their parents might come back." As if her words had summoned it, they heard a sound from the hills around the valley. It was a howl, long and hungry, echoing off the rocks. It was answered by another howl from a different direction, and then another. Spark's head shot up, and he made a sound like angry electricity. The 3 baby raccoon creatures pressed closer to him, their humming turning into frightened squeaks. "We need to go," Lisa said urgently. "Right now." But when they tried to leave, Spark wouldn't come with them. He stayed curled around the 3 orphans, making protective sounds and spreading his wings as wide as they would go. He won't leave them, Ben realized. Anna looked at the 4 small creatures, then at the hills where more howls were starting to echo. She made a decision that would change everything. "Then we don't leave them either," she said. "Ben, can you carry one of the babies? Lisa, you take another one. I'll take the 3rd. "Anna, we can't take wild animals back to the ship," Lisa protested. "Watch me," Anna said. She reached for the closest baby creature, expecting it to run or try to bite her. Instead, it let her pick it up. It was warm and soft, and it made quiet humming sounds against her chest. Ben and Lisa each picked up one of the other babies. The creatures seemed to understand that the humans were trying to help them. They didn't struggle or try to get away. Spark climbed back onto Ben's shoulder, but this time he kept looking back at the babies to make sure they were safe. They hurried out of the valley as more howls filled the air behind them. Whatever had killed the babies' parents was still out there, and it sounded like it was getting closer. Back at the ship, they made beds for the 3 orphan creatures next to Spark's bed. Anna expected them to be frightened of the unfamiliar, metal walls and strange smells, but they seemed more interested in staying close to their new dragon friend. "What are we going to feed them?" Lisa asked. Ben was already checking his animal care supplies. "Let's try some of our dried fruits and nuts. Species like this are usually omnivores." The babies ate everything Ben offered them, but they ate very carefully, like they had been hungry for a long time. After they finished eating, they curled up next to Spark and went to sleep. "Look at that," Anna said softly. Spark had positioned himself so all three babies could use him as a pillow. His wing covered them like a protective blanket. Even sleeping, he kept one amber eye slightly open, watching for danger. "He's trying to take care of them," Ben said with wonder in his voice. A baby trying to be a parent to other babies. Anna felt something warm and proud in her chest as she watched the small group sleep peacefully together. She didn't know how they were going to manage taking care of 4 baby animals on a moon far from home. She didn't know what they would eat or where they would sleep or how they would stay safe from whatever was hunting in the hills. But looking at Spark's determined little face, she knew they would figure it out together. Sometimes family wasn't about who gave birth to you. Sometimes it was about who chose to stay and protect you when the rest of the world seemed dark and dangerous. Outside, the howls continued, but inside the ship, 4 babies slept safe and sound, watched over by 3 humans who had decided that some things were more important than rules or regulations, or getting home on time. 3 days had passed since they brought the orphaned babies back to the ship, and Anna was amazed by what she saw each morning. The little family of 4 had become something special, something that made her believe in magic again. Spark had grown, not just a little bit, but noticeably bigger each day. He was now the size of a medium dog instead of a house cat. His scales had become brighter and stronger, and his wings were almost completely healed. But the most amazing change was in his behavior. The little dragon had become a mother. Anna watched from the ship's doorway as Spark led the 3 baby raccoon creatures, whom they had named Pip, Dash, and Luna, on a hunting expedition. Pip was the smallest and bravest of the 3, always ready to explore new things. Dash was the fastest, with silver streaks in his fur that seemed to glow when he moved. Luna was the gentlest, and she had a habit of humming lullabies to herself. When she thought no one was listening, Spark walked in front, his head held high like a proud parent leading his children to school. The 3 babies followed in a line behind him, their 6 legs making them surprisingly good at keeping up with his pace. Spark would stop every few steps to look back and make sure all 3 were still following. "He's teaching them to hunt," Ben said, joining Anna at the doorway. "Yesterday I watched him show them which berries were safe to eat and which ones to avoid. He's never seen those plants before in his life, but somehow he knows." "Instinct," Anna said. "He must have instincts for taking care of young animals, even if they're not his own species." They watched as Spark found a fallen log covered in colorful mushrooms. He called to the babies with soft chirping sounds, then used his tiny claws to carefully dig around the base of the log. After a moment, he pulled out something that looked like a purple root. He bit off a small piece and offered it to Pip, who ate it eagerly. "Smart boy," Lisa said, coming up behind them. "Those roots are full of protein. I analyzed some yesterday." Spark found 3 more roots and made sure each of his babies got 1. Then he found some for himself, but only after the others were fed. Anna felt her heart squeeze tight as she watched him put the baby's needs before his own. "He's getting bigger because of them," Ben said thoughtfully. "Taking care of others is making him grow up faster." Anna nodded. She had seen the same thing happen with human children who had to become adults too young because of tragedy or responsibility. Spark was still a baby himself, probably no more than a few months old, but necessity was turning him into a protector and provider. The hunting lesson continued for another hour. Spark showed the babies how to dig for insects, how to climb trees to reach the sweetest fruits, and how to find clean water by following the sound of small streams. The 3 raccoon creatures were quick learners, and they copied everything their dragon guardian did. When they returned to the ship, all 4 animals were tired but happy. Pip had managed to catch a small lizard-like creature, and he proudly shared it with his siblings. Dash had found a cluster of berries that tasted like candy. Luna had discovered a flower that, when squeezed gently, produced drops of something like honey. "Good work, everyone," Anna said, scratching Spark behind his horned head. The dragon purred like a cat and leaned into her touch, but his amber eyes never stopped watching his 3 charges. That evening, as they all sat around the small camp they had made inside the ship, Anna brought up the question they had all been avoiding. "Our rescue signal finally got through yesterday," she said. "There's a ship coming for us. It should be here in about a week." Ben and Lisa exchanged looks. They all knew what this meant. "We can't take them with us," Lisa said quietly, looking at where the 4 babies were curled up together in their shared bed. "Regulations don't allow wild animals on passenger ships, and even if they did, these creatures belong here." Anna felt something heavy settle in her stomach. She had known this moment would come, but that didn't make it any easier. Spark seemed to sense the sadness in the humans' voices. He got up from his bed and walked over to Anna, climbing into her lap despite being almost too big for it now. He looked up at her with those intelligent amber eyes and made a questioning sound. "We might have to leave soon, little guy," Anna said softly. "I don't know how to explain it to you, but humans have rules about taking animals from their home worlds." Spark tilted his head, then looked back at Pip, Dash, and Luna. He made a soft sound that somehow conveyed sadness and determination at the same time. Over the next few days, Anna watched Spark prepare for their departure in ways that broke her heart. The young dragon worked harder than ever to teach the babies everything they would need to survive. He showed them how to build warm nests from soft plants. He led them to water sources far from the ship so they would remember where to find them. He even seemed to be teaching them to be cautious around strangers, though he was careful to make sure they still trusted Ben, Anna, and Lisa. But the most heartbreaking thing was how Spark had started to change the babies' behavior toward him. Instead of depending on him for everything, he was encouraging them to explore on their own and make their own decisions. He was slowly, carefully, teaching them to be independent. "He knows," Ben said one evening, as they watched Spark grooming Luna's fur with gentle care. "Somehow he understands that we're leaving and he's trying to prepare them." Anna felt tears in her eyes. He's just a baby himself. He shouldn't have to make these kinds of choices. The next morning brought a new development that changed everything. Anna woke up to find Spark missing from his bed. Pip, Dash, and Luna were there, still sleeping peacefully, but their guardian was nowhere to be seen. She woke Ben and Lisa, and they searched the area around the ship. They found Spark about a half-mile away in a clearing they had never seen before. But he wasn't alone. Standing with Spark was another dragon, this one fully adult and magnificent. She was about the size of a horse, with scales that seemed to contain entire galaxies of stars. Her eyes were the same amber color as Spark's, but ancient and wise. When she saw the humans approaching, she lowered her great head in what seemed like a greeting. Spark ran to Anna and climbed up to sit on her shoulder, chattering excitedly in his dragon language. The adult dragon watched this with what Anna could swear was amusement. "She's his mother," Ben whispered, "or at least an adult of his species." The adult dragon walked closer, moving with grace despite her size. She sniffed at each human carefully, then made a sound that was clearly approval. Then she did something that surprised them all. She walked over to where Pip, Dash, and Luna were peeking out from behind a tree, and she lowered her head to gently touch each baby with her nose. Anna understood. This adult dragon was accepting the 3 orphaned creatures as part of her family. She would help Spark take care of them. She's been watching, Anna realized. Probably since we first found Spark. She waited until he proved he could be a good guardian, and now she's ready to help. Spark climbed down from Anna's shoulder and walked over to his 3 babies. He nuzzled each of them, then led them to the adult dragon. The great creature curled her body around all 4 young ones, creating a safe circle with her tail. Anna felt her heart breaking and healing at the same time. Spark and the babies would be safe. They would have each other, and they would have an adult to protect and guide them. But it meant saying goodbye. Spark seemed to understand this too. He came back to the humans and looked up at Anna with those bright amber eyes. He made a soft sound that somehow contained gratitude, love, and Farewell all at once. Take care of them, Anna whispered, kneeling down to scratch behind his horns one last time. Take care of each other. When the rescue ship arrived 2 days later, Anna looked back at the forest as they lifted off. She couldn't see Spark and his family, but she knew they were there, safe in their new home with their dragon guardian. Ben had filled out his report carefully, noting the unique ecosystem and the remarkable intelligence of the native species, but making no mention of their direct contact with the animals. Some secrets were worth keeping. As the moon grew smaller below them, Anna made herself a promise. Someday, when she had the resources and the authority, she would come back to this place. She would make sure that Spark's forest remained protected, that his unlikely family could grow and thrive in safety. After all, she had learned something important during their time on the strange moon. Family wasn't about being the same species or coming from the same place. Family was about choosing to love and protect each other, no matter what the rules said was supposed to happen. And sometimes, the most important families were the ones that formed when no one was looking. In quiet forests on distant moons where a baby dragon could become a mother and 3 orphaned creatures could find hope again. 5 years had passed since Anna Riley first crashed on the strange moon, and the small research station she had built looked nothing like the temporary shelter it had once been. The metal buildings blended into the forest like they had always belonged there, covered in flowering vines that the local creatures had learned to cultivate for their sweet nectar. Anna stood in the observation dome, watching the morning activities in the valley below. Spark was no longer the small dragon she had rescued. He had grown into something magnificent, his scales now deep emerald with veins of gold that caught the sunlight. His wings could carry him high above the tallest trees, and his body was as large as the ancient dragons from Earth's old stories. But what made Anna smile was not his size or strength. It was watching him with his ever-growing family. Pip, Dash, and Luna were adults now, each with their own personality and role in the community. Pip had become an explorer, always the first to investigate new areas of the forest. Dash was the fastest messenger, able to carry news between different groups of animals across the moon. Luna had developed into a natural caretaker, helping Spark with the newest arrivals to their unusual sanctuary, because that's what the valley had become over the years. Word had somehow spread among the creatures of this moon that there was a place where orphaned and injured animals could find safety. They came in small groups, sometimes just one frightened baby, sometimes entire families displaced by storms or predators. Spark welcomed them all. Anna had watched him grow from a protective guardian of 3 raccoon creatures into something like a wise king of the forest. He settled disputes between different species, organized hunting parties that made sure everyone was fed, and personally cared for the youngest and most vulnerable arrivals. The adult dragon who had first appeared 5 years ago, whom they now called Star for the galaxy patterns in her scales, had become Spark's advisor and partner in caring for their extended family. Together, they had created something Anna had never seen before, a truly mixed species community where cooperation replaced competition. Anna's research team had grown too. Ben had stayed permanently, fascinated by the complex social structures they were documenting. Lisa visited regularly, bringing supplies and helping maintain their equipment. New researchers had joined them over the years, all sworn to secrecy about the true nature of their work. Officially, they were studying the moon's unique ecosystem. Unofficially, they were protecting something far more precious than any scientific discovery. Anna was thinking about this as she prepared for another routine day of observations when Ben burst into the dome, his face pale with worry. "Anna, you need to see this," he said, holding up his scanner. "There's something big moving through the northern forest. Multiple large heat signatures, and they're heading this way." Anna felt her stomach drop. In 5 years, they had seen many predators on this moon, but most of them avoided the valley where Spark's community lived. The dragon's presence was usually enough to keep dangerous creatures at a safe distance. "How big?" she asked. "Bigger than Star," Ben said grimly. "And there are at least 6 of them, maybe more." Anna grabbed her binoculars and headed for the observation platform on the roof of their main building. What she saw through the lenses made her blood run cold. Moving through the trees like gray shadows were creatures unlike anything they had cataloged before. They looked like wolves, but they were the size of bears, with metallic claws that gleamed like knives. Their eyes glowed red in the dim forest light, and their movement was coordinated, purposeful. These were not random predators wandering through the territory they were hunting. "Get everyone inside the station," Anna ordered. "Send the emergency signal to the orbital platform, and find Spark." But even as she said it, Anna realized Spark had already sensed the danger. She could see him in the valley below, moving quickly between the various shelters and nests his community had built. His deep roar echoed off the hills, a sound that meant immediate danger and the need to take cover. The creatures of the valley responded instantly. The flying ones took to the air, heading for the high caves Star had shown them years ago. The diggers disappeared into their underground tunnels. The tree dwellers vanished into the highest branches. In less than 10 minutes, the valley looked empty and peaceful. But Anna knew the predators wouldn't be fooled. These creatures had been tracking scents, and the scents led directly to the heart of Spark's territory. She watched as Spark and Star took positions at the narrow entrance to the valley, the only place large predators could enter. They stood, side by side, two dragons ready to defend their family against whatever was coming. The first of the wolf creatures appeared at the tree line just as the sun reached its highest point. It was even larger than Anna had thought, with scars across, its face that spoke of many battles, its red eyes fixed on Spark and Star with unmistakable hunger. 5 more predators emerged from the forest, forming a semicircle around the two dragons. Anna could see the intelligence in their movements. These were not mindless beasts. They were coordinated hunters, and they had been planning this attack. The largest predator, clearly the leader, made a sound that was half howl and half roar. It was a challenge, and Anna understood its meaning even without speaking the language. It was telling Spark and Star to move aside, to let them take what they wanted from the valley. Spark's response was immediate and unmistakable. He rose up on his hind legs and spread his wings to their full span, making himself look as large and threatening as possible. The sound that came from his throat was like thunder mixed with lightning, a roar that spoke of absolute determination. Star joined him, her own wings spread wide, her galaxy-bright scales seeming to burn with their own fire. Together they made it clear that nothing would get past them to harm their family. The lead predator seemed amused by their defiance. It made a barking sound that the others answered, and Anna realized they were laughing. 6 against 2, and they probably outweighed the dragons despite Spark and Star's impressive size. What the predators didn't know was that Spark was no ordinary dragon. The attack came without warning. 3 of the wolf creatures charged from the left, while 2 more came from the right, leaving their leader to watch for weaknesses. It was a good strategy against normal prey, but Spark and Star were far from normal. Star met the left flank with claws and teeth, her experience evident in every movement, but it was Spark who shocked everyone, including Anna. When the 2 predators on the right reached him, Spark opened his mouth and breathed. What came out was not fire, but something Anna had never seen before. It was like concentrated lightning, a stream of brilliant white energy that crackled and sparked as it traveled through the air. The energy hit the first predator squarely in the chest, and the creature simply collapsed. It wasn't dead. Anna could see it breathing, but it was completely unconscious. The second predator tried to dodge, but Spark's aim was perfect. Another stream of lightning energy, and the second attacker fell beside the first. The remaining predators stopped their assault, staring at their fallen packmates with confusion and fear. They had never encountered anything like Spark's new ability. But the reprieve didn't last long. The lead predator snarled something at the others, and Anna could see them preparing for another attack. This time, they would be ready for Spark's lightning breath. That's when Pip appeared. The grown raccoon creature came racing down from the hills, moving faster than Anna had ever seen him go. Behind him came Dash and Luna, and behind them came dozens of other animals from Spark's community. Flying creatures dove from above while diggers emerged from tunnel entrances around the valley's perimeter. The predators suddenly found themselves surrounded by an army of defenders, all of them ready to protect their home and their dragon guardians. But even with reinforcements, Anna could see that this was going to be a brutal fight. The wolf creatures were larger and stronger than most of Spark's community, and their metal claws could cut through almost anything. Then something happened that changed everything. From the direction of Anna's research station came a new sound, the deep thrumming of approaching aircraft. The rescue ship she had called for was arriving early, and it was not coming alone. 3 ships dropped out of the clouds above the valley, their engines creating winds that bent the trees and scattered leaves everywhere. From their open doors came the armed security team that Anna had requested in her emergency signal. The predators took one look at the human aircraft and weapons, then at the army of animals surrounding them, and at Spark with his lightning breath, and made the smart choice. With howls of frustration, they grabbed their unconscious packmates and melted back into the forest. As the ships landed and the security team secured the area, Anna ran down to the valley to check on her friends. Spark was standing protectively, over Pip, who had a gash on his side from one of the predator's claws. The wound wasn't life-threatening, but it was bleeding freely. "Easy, boy," Anna said to Spark, who was making distressed sounds as he tried to clean Pip's wound. "We'll take care of him." Ben arrived with medical supplies, and together they treated Pip's injury while Luna hummed a comforting song and Dash kept watch for more predators. "They'll be back," Anna said quietly to Ben as they worked. "Predators like that don't give up easily. They'll find another way to attack, or they'll wait until we're not here to help." Ben nodded grimly. "So what do we do?" Anna looked around, at the community Spark had built, at the dozens of different species that had found safety and friendship in this valley. She thought about the years of careful research and protection that had gone into making this sanctuary possible. "We make sure they never have to face this threat again," she said. "It's time to take this protection to the next level." As the security team finished their sweep of the area and the rescue ships prepared to return to orbit, Anna was already forming a plan. The wolf creatures had shown her something important. This sanctuary was too precious and too vulnerable to rely on secrecy alone. It was time to make some changes that would ensure Spark's family would never have to fight for their survival again. But those changes would require resources, authority, and influence that Anna didn't currently possess. Fortunately, she knew exactly how to get them. 10 years after first stepping foot on the unnamed moon, Anna Riley walked through the corridors of the Galactic Conservation Authority's headquarters on Earth. Her uniform bore the insignia of a senior director, a rank she had earned through a decade of groundbreaking research and successful conservation projects across the galaxy. But none of that mattered as much as the document she carried in her briefcase. After months of careful preparation, legal consultations, and political maneuvering, she finally had what she needed to protect Spark's sanctuary forever. The meeting room was filled with some of the most powerful people in human space. There were representatives from the Colonial Administration, the Scientific Council, and the Military Defense Board. All of them had questions about why Director Riley was asking for exclusive protection status for an unremarkable moon in the Andromeda sector. "The ecosystem we've documented over the past 10 years is unlike anything we've found elsewhere." Anna began her presentation, clicking to a slide showing the valley's magnificent forests. "The biodiversity index is off the charts, with over 300 documented species living in complete harmony." She clicked to the next slide, showing carefully edited footage of various animals working together. She had been very careful to keep Spark and Star out of the official documentation, but the cooperation between species was still remarkable enough to impress the committee. "What makes this ecosystem unique," Anna continued, "is not just the variety of life but the complex social structures that have developed. We've observed interspecies cooperation on a level that challenges everything we thought we knew about animal behavior." General Hayes, the military representative, leaned forward. "That's all very interesting, Director Riley, but why does this require military protection? Surely a standard conservation designation would be sufficient." Anna had been prepared for this question. 5 years ago, we documented an attack by a pack of apex predators that could have destroyed the entire ecosystem balance. The level of coordination and intelligence shown by these predators suggests they may return with larger numbers. The ecosystem we're trying to protect is fragile and irreplaceable. She clicked to footage from the wolf creature attack, showing the size and ferocity of the predators. The committee members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Moreover, Anna continued, preliminary analysis suggests this moon may be a crucial stopover point for migrating species throughout this sector. If we lose this sanctuary, we could see ecosystem collapse across multiple worlds. It was a careful stretching of the truth, but not technically a lie. Spark's community had indeed become a refuge for creatures from across the moon, and possibly from other nearby worlds. Dr. Chen from the Scientific Council raised her hand. What about the indigenous intelligence you reported in your preliminary surveys? Have you made contact with the native sentient species? Anna's heart skipped a beat. She had mentioned in her very first report that there were signs of intelligence among the native animals, but she had been deliberately vague about the details. The intelligence we've observed is remarkable, she said carefully, but it operates on levels that are difficult for humans to fully understand. Rather than risk contamination through direct contact, we've maintained a policy of observation only. It was true in a way. They had maintained a policy of not interfering with the natural development of Spark's community, even as they protected it from outside threats. Administrator Park looked through his notes. The cost of maintaining a permanent protection detail and research station is substantial, Director Riley. Are you certain the results justify the expense? Anna clicked to her final slide, showing a carefully compiled graph of discoveries made on the moon over the past 10 years. New medicines derived from local plants, insights into cooperative behavior that had applications in human society, and environmental restoration techniques that had already been used on 6 other worlds. The research benefits alone have paid for the project 3 times over, she said. But beyond the practical applications, this represents something unprecedented. We have a chance to study and protect a truly unique experiment in evolution and cooperation. If we succeed here, we can apply these lessons to conservation efforts throughout the galaxy. The committee members exchanged looks and whispered discussions. After 20 minutes of deliberation, General Hayes spoke for the group. Director Riley, the committee is prepared to approve your request with some modifications. You'll have permanent protected status for the moon, a military patrol to deter poachers and threats, and continued funding for your research station. However, we want regular reports on any developments with the indigenous intelligence. If there are opportunities for beneficial contact, we want to know about them. Anna felt relief flood through her body. Understood, General. I'll continue to monitor the situation carefully. After the meeting, Anna took the first transport back to the moon she now thought of as her second home. The journey that had once taken days of travel now took only hours thanks to improved jump drive technology. But Anna used the time to plan what came next. She found Ben waiting for her at the landing platform, grinning widely. I take it the meeting went well? Better than well, Anna said. We got everything we asked for. Permanent protection status, military patrol, and unlimited research funding. Spark's family will never have to worry about threats from space or from other predators. Ben's smile got even wider. Wait until you see what's been happening while you were gone. They climbed into the small transport vehicle that carried them through the forest to the research station. But instead of going directly to the main building, Ben directed them toward the valley where Spark's community lived. What Anna saw there made her stop and stare in wonder. The valley had grown. What had once been a single clearing surrounded by forest was now a complex of connected meadows, each one adapted to the needs of different species. Flying creatures had built elaborate nests in artificial cliffs that Spark and Star had somehow learned to shape from the local rock. Aquatic animals lived in a series of interconnected ponds that sparkled like jewels in the sunlight. But most amazing of all was the sight of Spark himself. The dragon had grown even larger in the months. Anna had been away, but it was not his size that took her breath away. It was seeing him with a small version of himself, a baby dragon no bigger than Anna's hand. When did that happen? Anna whispered. 2 weeks ago, Ben said proudly. Star laid a single egg about 6 months ago, and it finally hatched. Spark's been carrying the baby everywhere, teaching it everything he knows. Anna watched as Spark gently placed the baby dragon on the ground, near where Pip, Dash, and Luna were grooming each other. The tiny creature immediately toddled over to the 3 raccoon creatures who welcomed it with gentle humming sounds. He's teaching his own child the same lessons he learned, Anna realized. That family isn't about species, it's about love and care. As if he had heard her, Spark looked up and spotted Anna. His great head lifted, and he made a sound of joy that echoed across the entire valley. Dozens of creatures looked up from their activities and began moving toward the landing area. Anna found herself surrounded by animals she had watched grow up over the past decade. Pip, now gray around the muzzle but still energetic, climbed up to sit on her shoulder. Dash raced circles around her, chattering excitedly. Luna approached, more sedately, carrying a flower in her mouth as a welcome gift. But it was Spark who made Anna's eyes fill with tears. The magnificent dragon walked over and gently lowered his great head so she could scratch behind his horns the way she had, when he was small enough to sit in her lap. "I missed you too, boy," she whispered. "But I have good news. This place is protected now. Forever. No one can ever threaten your family again." Spark made a sound that somehow conveyed understanding and gratitude. Then he did something he had never done before. He walked over to where Star was watching with their baby, picked up the tiny dragon in his gentle mouth and carried it over to Anna. He placed the baby in Anna's hands and stepped back, making soft, encouraging sounds. Anna looked down at the perfect miniature dragon, no bigger than a kitten, with scales that already showed hints of the gold and emerald pattern it would grow into. "He wants you to meet his child," Ben said softly. "He's showing you that you're part of his family too." Anna felt tears running down her cheeks as the baby dragon curled up in her palm and made tiny purring sounds. She looked around at the valley full of creatures who had found safety and love in this impossible place, all because one baby dragon had decided that protecting others was more important than anything else. "What should we call the little one?" she asked. Spark made a thoughtful sound, then walked over to pick up a small piece of the crystalline rock that grew throughout the valley. The rock caught the sunlight and threw tiny rainbows in all directions. "Hope," Anna said, understanding immediately. "We'll call her Hope." Over the following months, Anna watched as Hope grew up in the same loving, multi-species family that had shaped her father. The baby dragon learned to hunt from the raccoon creatures, learned to fly from Star, and learned compassion and protection from Spark. But Hope also learned something new, something that even Spark had never experienced. She learned what it was like to grow up in a place where safety was guaranteed, where no predator would ever threaten her family, where love was the rule rather than the exception. Anna often stood in the observation dome in the evenings, watching Spark lead his extended family in their evening activities. Creatures from dozens of species worked together to tend the valley, to care for the young ones, and to welcome new arrivals who still occasionally found their way to this sanctuary. The military patrol ships made regular sweeps of the area, but they never found any trace of the wolf creatures or other major predators. Whether they had moved on to easier hunting grounds or simply learned to avoid the protected zone, Anna didn't know and didn't care. What mattered was that the valley remained safe. Ben had established breeding programs for several endangered species, using the valley as a safe nursery where young animals could learn natural behaviors before being relocated to other protected areas. The research station had become a model for conservation efforts throughout the galaxy. But for Anna, the real success was much simpler. It was watching Spark teach Hope to spread her wings protectively over a new arrival, a small creature that had lost its parents to a storm. It was seeing 3 generations of Pip's family playing together in the meadow. It was knowing that love and compassion had created something that would last forever. Years passed and Anna grew older, but the sanctuary remained timeless. Hope grew into a beautiful adult dragon, taking on more responsibility for the community's protection. She eventually had babies of her own, continuing the tradition Spark had started. When Anna finally retired from active duty, she chose to spend her remaining years at the research station, documenting the ongoing miracle of interspecies cooperation that continued to flourish in the valley. She wrote papers about social structures and conservation techniques, but her most important work was simply being present, being part of the family that had started with one crashed ship and one wounded baby dragon. On quiet evenings, Anna would sit with Spark on the hill overlooking the valley, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. The dragon was truly ancient now, his scales showing silver threads among the gold and green, but his amber eyes were still bright with purpose and love. "You did it, boy," Anna would tell him. "You saved them all, and in saving them, you taught us how to save ourselves." Spark would make his gentle purring sound and rest his great head next to her chair, and together they would watch over the family that had grown from tragedy into something beautiful, something permanent, something that proved that love really could conquer anything, even the vast loneliness of space. The sanctuary had become more than just a home for displaced creatures. It had become proof that different species, different worlds, different kinds of beings could choose to live together in harmony when they decided that caring for each other was more important than any other consideration. And at the center of it all was a dragon who had learned as a baby that being fierce meant protecting others, and that being a mother meant loving without conditions or boundaries, forever.